Welcome back to the Florida Relocation Guide YouTube channel. My name is Adam Hancock, and today we release our 2023 A to Z guide to Sarasota, Florida. This is going to be the absolute most comprehensive video that exists on YouTube, and I'm going to try to give you every single piece of value I possibly know how. Really hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. All right, let's first start off with a highlight reel. So Sarasota, Florida has a lot of unique aspects that differentiate it from anywhere else in the United States. You have maybe the best geography in the entire state of Florida if you had to pick one spot. You have world-class beaches, top 10 level beaches, not one of them, but like 5 of them. You have culture, you have art, you have some of the best master plan new construction suburbs in the entire United States. You have variety of living, your downtown is 2.5 miles from the coast, you have very little traffic and much, much more. And I want to get into that all in the next few minutes. All right, let's just start off with what is the lifestyle actually like in Sarasota, Florida? The best way I want to articulate this so it's consumable is I'm going to focus on the major hitters, and I'm going to tell you mostly what is different in my personal opinion. When it comes to beaches, what I think is the biggest key here about Sarasota is that it's not just one world class. So the variety, in a sense, just by itself, creates an environment where there's really something for everyone. So take, for example, what everybody thinks of, most popular, Siesta Key, Anna Maria Island. These are spots people wait all year, save, and travel to vacation, dream of retiring in. Those are areas that look like they do online, very touristy, very beachy, have shopping districts, eating districts. It's a place where people aggregate on purpose. They meet their friends, they meet their family. There's a lot more people. It's a destination spot. But then say on the other end of the spectrum, you're not that person. And this is where I currently sit here at 36 years old and grew up on Siesta Key, where I stand in my life. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for more quiet, easy in and out, parking where I know I can get there every single time. And I'm a morning beach person, so we can satiate that need too. I'm standing here on Lido Beach right now. Now you don't have the quartz white sand that doesn't get hot to the touch. It's a little bit more shells, but look, there's no one, right? This is what I'm looking for. Like, I want easy. Longboat Key is another great example. That's one that, what's beautiful about it is that it's all private accesses. There's not no access, but it's a lot clunkier if you're not staying there or you don't live there. So that in itself creates, if you go there, it feels like no one else is there, you know? So if you're looking for that, plenty of options for that as well. And then just to digress here, if that's not enough for you, you can take all of that, drop it in Venice, and you got quaint, you got historical, and you got 3 beaches. Venice Beach, a slower Siesta Key, Casperson Beach is the shark's tooth capital of the world, and Brohard Beach is the only dog beach in the county, and that's not even counting Quay or Minnesota or anything in between. So needless to say, it's hard to compete with. All right, next is culture, and this is a really, really big one in my opinion. So Sarasota, Florida is technically considered the cultural coast, and that is because of the pure density, art galleries, museums, historical sites, and live performances in a relatively small geographic region. Now, this is really interesting because you come to Florida for the beaches, especially from a bigger city like Toronto or Manhattan or one of these cities, and you think you're just gonna lose all of that texture that you're used to, but you get all of that and you're 2 miles from the beach, not to mention that a lot of what I stand on right now, the entire premise was built on the back of John Ringling. Then the third one I wanted to throw in here is downtown Sarasota itself. You could say, okay, it's just the town's downtown. But I've lived, you're already in Florida in this conversation, and I've lived in 10 cities in Florida. You know, Naples, Tampa, Pensacola, West Palm Beach. I have not been to a downtown where I thought they hit the perfect balance. It is so pleasant, clean, upscale, it feels safe. But then you add full historic districts like Laurel and Burns Court. You add an unbelievable restaurant scene, a whole historic scene. You have galleries, you have condos, and it's got a little something for everyone. And on top of all of that, take out all of the work commute. Most downtowns in the state of Florida, people travel into for work and they leave to go to the suburbs to live. This downtown is 100% play first, work second. Okay, the fourth thing when it comes to lifestyle, we're gonna actually circle back to the beaches because I think it deserves a separate conversation, and that's the villages. There is 4 separate mini downtowns in essence, depending on which barrier island you sit on. And where I wanna start is maybe the most unique, and one of the most unique in the state of Florida is called St. Armand Circle. This is the closest to where I stand here. And this was a downtown that was invented by John Ringling himself, literally invented by him. Intricate, unique design. But I think a takeaway item of what's so unique is the upscale feeling nature. This isn't your prototypical beachy little village. It has that stuff too, but this is cosmopolitan. It is high-end feeling. Fine dining, high-end shopping, 140 plus merchants, 4.5 out of 5 Certificate of Excellence rating on TripAdvisor, ton of live events. And I think it would be a real must-see destination, even if you're coming to Southwest Florida at all. Second, we have Siesta Key Village. So if you say, why is St. Armand Circle so unique? Well, Siesta Key Village is the opposite. It's what you think of when you vacation. This is your prototypical one. It is beachy. I mean, it's nice, 100+ shops and boutiques, but it's a little bit more party-centric, barefoot, shell shops, daiquiri bars, and the whole entire thing feels like that. So it's just a very different vibe. Cool thing is they're only 6 miles apart, so you can do both. And then just to give you the third and fourth option, really, and you get a couple small ones in between, but if you go to Anna Maria Island, there's a Bridge Street area. It gives you a similar mix, I guess, of these two, but smaller. And then Venice itself has its own downtown. Venice is a non-barrier island, so the island is the downtown. You can walk to the beach, but it basically is like taking a slower paced, charming, historic version of Siesta Key Village and putting it 45 minutes south. Okay, and then I want to talk about something I'm calling Suburban Villages. And the whole second half of this video is about where to live. So I'm not going to do that here. But why this is a separate section right now is if you pay attention to everything I've talked about in this video so far, it was all downtown, it was all beaches, that was the whole conversation. The key is you can't get 3,000 square feet on a single story at $750,000 on the beach or in downtown. Most people live in the suburbs. But what they've done recently that adds the unique layer is they've solved urban walkability when it comes to being in the suburbs. So when you come to the beach I'm at, you shop downtown, go to St. Armand Circle, it is the choice, it's a choice, not the only choice, and all of it is accessible. The shape of Sarasota is so condensed. To get really, really far in the suburbs, you're talking 20 to 28 miles in totality. So you have access truly to everything the region has to offer. Okay, so just to tie a ribbon on that point, is say that you have $400,000 to even 1.5 to 1.8 million. That is truly best, if you're just saying house and economics reasons, that's truly best spent in the suburbs of Sarasota. Now, the reason I'm so passionate about this area uniquely, this is where I live and work and everything, is I think we have the best version of this conversation. So go to Lakewood Ranch, that's east, #1 multi-generational master plan in the United States. We're gonna talk about it more. But what they did is they built a place called Waterside Place. Now that is not a podunk suburban downtown. That is a full-on city's downtown. It's got everything. It's waterfront, it's new, it's clean, 25-foot sidewalks. It's lovely and it's very accessible to all those neighborhoods. Then you add downtown Lakewood Ranch, which is another one. University Town Center, which is on both sides of the street, a huge operation. But what's even cooler than that, something we have that most don't have, is you might not want to be east. That's not that far, but it's far from here. It's east. What they did is then they went south of Venice and they added an area called downtown Wellen Park. And that's your coastal player. New construction homes and a full-on downtown. So just the point I want to get across here is that's not commonality. 10 years ago, people they were separating neighborhoods based on the pool being nicer, pickleball. Now people expect more when they leave their individual neighborhood. And they're satiating that need. Because it's not like you're not going to come here. But now you truly don't need to come down here unless you want to go to the beach. Because it's not Publix and CVS on every corner, which they do too. But you have a full-on downtown that is 5 miles from every house around the entire area to satiate all those social needs. Okay, I just want to hit 2 more for lifestyle and then we'll move on to where to live. And that's pace of life in schools. So when it comes to pace of life, it might be one of the most important you could possibly ever seek intentionally. And I feel like Sarasota might achieve that balance the best. Now, I've lived a lot of places and a lot of times you're tied to a city for economics reasons, but say you don't have to be. Then I want balance. I don't want to be in a hamster wheel. I don't want work to feel super separate than my family and from my hobbies and from my fitness and health goals. And I feel like it's so easy to achieve that here. I'm not sitting in traffic all day. I live in the full-on suburbs in Lakewood Ranch, and my office is downtown Sarasota, right? I don't sit all day trying to get there. I want to go to the beach for an hour. I want to hang out with my kids. My kids are young. And I'm very, very busy, and I don't want all that to be separate from each other. And I feel because of the structure of why people are here, the intentionality of how they tried to get here, what the work life is based around versus the social life of the industry itself, it's easier to sit in that environment in a city that's very condensed, that has variety, that's not based on industry and work. So if you can achieve it, it might be the best mousetrap. And then schools, obviously, if you have kids, you're empathetic to this point. Well, Sarasota's easy. It's the #2 rated public school district in the entire state only second to St. Augustine and St. Johns County. The public school variety, wherever you live, if you're number 2 in the state, that means it's not that hard to find elementary through high school and high ratings. Lakewood Ranch has high ratings, Venice, Sarasota, everything in between. So you could pick where you want to live and then have good schools, not have to live somewhere where you don't want to live because it's reliant on schools. Then on top of that, public charters, Montessori, preschool specialties, everything in between. All right, now we have hit part 2 of the video, and that is where to live. And please, I would encourage you to use this video like a tool. It is comprehensive on purpose. It's the only way I know how to respect your time and give you as much information that I possibly know in my head. But use the timestamps in the description, save it, refer back to it. It's gonna be hard to consume in one sitting. The way I want to do this section, where I think it would be the best as a research tool with the most information packed in, is to separate it by category. Okay, the first one surrounds the new construction and master plan suburb conversation, and Sarasota has differentiators in this category. The first one's Lakewood Ranch. You know, that's the low-hanging fruit. I breezed over it. It's the #1 multi-generational master plan community in the entire United States. There's 30+ communities right now that, with 20 you could still build in. Every single price point and end of the spectrum. The oldest house in the entire area was built in 1995. It looks like Pleasantville. It looks just like it does online. 4 to 5 major shopping districts, 600 live events a year. I'm just riffing on this. 60 clubs, 50 charities, there's pickleball clubs, there's a rugby club, there's cricket. Something for everyone, high-rated schools, and it's very, very pleasant. That's where I live, that's where I raise my family, but it is a very, very interesting one. So that has to be on the short list when you're looking at this kind of house. The second one is called Wellen Park. This is always my juxtaposition between coastal and non. The good thing about Sarasota is there is variety, but it's black and white. Typically, if I send someone to Lakewood Ranch and I send them to Venice, completely divided people, right? So you know right away. But to have a new construction option in both is interesting. So Wellen Park's like 9 to 11, it's smaller, 9 to 11 total communities, a lot more affordable. A lot more no frills, like smaller operations. The schools are really highly rated. They have a downtown Wellen they're just building. This area is very, very new. There's not like these crazy $4 million luxury options. There's a few golf, but not a million. So it's basically a smaller, more quaint version of Lakewood Ranch, but the entire thing's coastal. That is the divide for people. This is South Venice / Northport. It's almost in Englewood. But if you're looking for someone where you're like, I love Lakewood Ranch, if you drop that closer to the beach, that would be my jam. Plus, like, that sounds awesome if you want that much activity, but maybe you don't, but you still like new construction. That is where Wellen Park becomes a big key. And the third one I want to mention, not on a lot of people's radar, is called Palmer Ranch. And that's because there's only one new construction neighborhood that sits in Palmer. The rest has already happened. It's like 20 years ago, Lakewood Ranch. The cool thing about this though is that you might be a resale person, not new construction, but it's really the location. It's in between these two. Lakewood Ranch is northeast of downtown Sarasota. The closest you can be is 11 miles. Venice is 45 minutes south of downtown Sarasota. So they're both 45 minutes from where I stand in opposite directions. Palmer Ranch sits in South Sarasota. So if you're looking for a happy medium blend, then this puts you basically in the middle of all of this where you can access it from both directions. The second category I'm calling Sarasota itself. The reason that when people come to town with my group, we start touring in the new construction areas, because I can show you context of everything you'd possibly want to know by starting on the new construction and showing you the differences, because there's an infrastructure, there's something to look at. I can compare those builders to what else you can get. If you would have started your search, you come here 2 times, and you start in category number 2, Sarasota itself, you will have no idea what the hell you're looking at. It's vague. The reason that is because most of the mid part of Sarasota, the best locations really, were already built. It's old school, but it's a bunch of random neighborhoods. So it's dictated by resale homes. Some of the best areas to live, if there's nothing for sale, you would be short-sighted to view an area the first time by going to resale listings. You more want to wait for the right house in a neighborhood that you're already aware of. Anyway, so hard to look at, but most of Sarasota sits in there. If you don't go for the sexy master plan, you probably end up in the mid somewhere on just a random neighborhood where you're going house to house. There's some spotty new construction in this area. If you like new and you like the location better, like Skye Ranch, Taylor Morrison, it's interesting. 3 different neighborhoods, pretty affordable. Artistry gives you a northern option that's a little bit more high-end with Coulter. You can go south and get Grand Park, which is Neal. Promenade Estates is MI and D.R. Horton. So it's not like new construction is not on the radar, but these new construction neighborhoods aren't gathered and communicate with each other in a way master plan would. So the cool thing, again, it's all black and white. If master plan, if you're anti that, and you fall back in the middle, better location, but you sacrifice communal amenities. Category 3, I'm calling urban and city living. So this, if you've ever talked to me, I'm a finance guy, this is not the move for an economics ROI decision. But with that being said, if you're someone that like, I'm moving here for these reasons, like I get the suburbs or like I can get a bigger house and all that kind of stuff, but I'm moving for these reasons, there's 4 distinct, interesting ways to do that. Number 1 is probably my favorite. This maybe makes Sarasota the most unique in the United States, possibly, and it's called West of the Trail. If you're not familiar with that, quick catch up. Tamiami Trail is US 41. It's called Tamiami Trail though. Interstate runs parallel. So Tamiami Trail is on the coast. West of the trail means west of this street. But west of the trail in a town where all the beaches are on barrier islands means this is the closest strip of inland that you could possibly get without being on the beach. Because here you're on the beach, you're not. You have to be because they're barrier islands. So if you think about what that is, the west of the trail is a group of residential neighborhoods that are old. So no HOA, urban infill like regular homes, not all small little condominiums, in a district that is 2 miles, the right neighborhood. You are 1 mile from downtown or less. You are 2.5 miles to Lido Beach where I stand. You're less than 5 miles to Siesta Key. You get the best of the best, but you get a single family home. And that's very hard to achieve because it's easier to build one condo building on one lot with 150 units. So this area is called West of the Trail. There's better parts than other parts, but it's a group of 7, 8 total neighborhoods. And what you gotta look at with Sarasota, I know I'm getting a little stream here, but you gotta look at Sarasota where it's not necessarily proximity to water or beach on a map. It's proximity to the access to use them. If you're close to the water but not close to the bridge, how is it functional? So West of the Trail gets this part where it's close to the access to get on the islands, but also possibly walkable to downtown. There's not another place in Florida that you can achieve that in a lot of ways because we're not in an area where walkability would be the reason you move to Florida. Okay, beyond that, the other 3 are more prototypical, like trying to get near the city. And these are what I would consider downtown and waterfront adjacent. So the benefit would be here is I like the blend. It's hard to just, my parents live on Siesta Key. It's hard to live on the island unless you want to live that lifestyle. That's a commitment to toil around the beach and stuff. Kind of lose the city. You kind of do, like you're a beach person, right? These options would allow it where you're not quite there, but you're way closer than the suburbs, but you still kind of got the downtown. So a little bit more happy medium, but these are way more like, they're not big single family residential areas, right? First one's called Downtown Sarasota itself. Condominiums, it's where the most density sits, over 90 resale condominiums. Some interesting new ones like the Demarque, the Edge, you got some urban infill ones. If you want a residential home or a villa or something, you're going historic. You gotta be someone that likes the bungalows and you gotta want that. You gotta be romantic about being in downtown, but you're sacrificing a lot of house and you're going old, kind of like a St. Petersburg, Florida. The other 2 are a lot more revolutionary. First one's called the Quay. The Quay is in front of downtown and it's a master plan 14-acre waterfront district. It's a mix of the newest condominiums. There's a Ritz, One Park, the new of the new. It is waterfront, but not on the beaches. It's 2 miles from where I stand here, but it is gonna be kind of master plan. So it's real high-end version, but it's a mix of high-end lease apartments, offices, ground floor level high-end restaurants, high-end purchase condominium living, and boating access. And then if you get right next to that, you just have a unique offering that's called Golden Gate Point. And Golden Gate Point is a peninsula. So obviously water on 3 sides, but this is a big district of old school single families, some rentals and condominiums as too. But it gets you that same idea of like unbelievable views. Downtown's right behind you, beach is right in front of you, and you're kind of in the middle. So I would look at West of the Trail as a summary, Downtown Sarasota, a district called the Quay that's partners with the Bay Project, and Golden Gate Point. Third category I want to hit is golf. Now, if you looked up pure resale golf neighborhoods in the state of Florida, especially Sarasota and Naples, overwhelming options. So what I'm going to do is I want to talk about major categories and give you a research like where to go from here list. The first one I want to talk about is called the Oaks. This is the one where it looks like looks like nothing else. If you are an Oaks person, you fall in love with this club, there's not a plan B. Looks like this is like, where would the president live? He would live here. It is exclusive. It is prestigious. It sits in Nokomis in South Sarasota, so it's coastal. And beautiful. You can get a big single family house behind gates, clubs, membership, social. It is a members only kind of club. Lakewood Ranch has Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club. This is one where Lakewood Ranch does have 30 plus neighborhoods, right? but optional joining golf clubs, there's only one. So Lakewood Ranch Golf and Country Club is a optional membership if there's availability. It has 3 golf courses, 2 world-class clubhouses, they're absolutely beautiful, and it sits in the district that's close to all that new sexy stuff I mentioned. And a lot of the luxury neighborhoods in Lakewood Ranch don't have golf, so this is where the people join. Then we have a couple one-hitters. TPC Prestancia would give you a resale beautiful option in South Sarasota and Palmer Ranch, which I mentioned. You have Lennar Brand Golf, which I'm gonna say is a category. It's unique. So Lennar adds one of the most affordable turnkey, no-frills builders that exists on new construction. But they add affordability and rentability. Because all of new construction, Lennar has the loosest rental restrictions. You can rent 12 times a year, 1 month at a time. They situate townhomes, villa, coach homes in golf neighborhoods and price them right. And they have Lakewood National, they have Sarasota National, they have Wellen Park Golf and Country Club, Babcock National, and Punta Gorda, Bonita National, right? They do the same thing, but that gives you a lot of variety and a lot of affordability if you're just like, I'm getting to town as an empty nester or something. And then the final one is Esplanade Brand Golf. Esplanade is Taylor Morrison's amenity-ridden brand. So they have 2 Esplanades in Lakewood Ranch that have golf. Esplanade Azario and a resale one called Esplanade Lakewood Ranch, I think. Very, very affordable for the most ridiculous amenities of all time. You know, $600 a month, you get these 2 pools, you get like a commercial restaurant, like 16,000 square feet, locker rooms, tennis, pickleball, and everything in a normal HOA. And you can live in a house and just have the social one for $350 a month. And I've lived in neighborhoods with no amenities for $350 a month. So for golf, I would start there. Okay, and the last category I wanted to mention is I'm just calling islands. So I'm just gonna tell you differentiators alone, that's it. If you're just going pure affordability, whether that is full-time or it is some sort of vacation level, Venice would be the place to start. Venice, I've run a lot of studies where if you wanted to walk to the beach, the most affordable overall cost of living in the entire state of Florida when it comes to Gulf Coast, Pensacola included, Venice was my #1. Cost of living, cost of the homes, cost of the listings versus the history of the home sales. Venice is the place to start, and if you're in downtown Venice, 100% of it, you can walk to the beach, so it's unique. Siesta Key, right? A lot of people look at that one. So Siesta Key is where I grew up, that's where my parents live. Siesta would be somewhere where, one, it's a lot more tourist-centric, right? You gotta be okay with that. You know, during Easter, it's gonna take you 40 minutes to go 2 miles on Heigl. But this is where it's gonna be a lot more vacation-centric in the sense that the condos are gonna be a lot more condo hotels. The condo buildings themselves are gonna be older. There's unique options in between there. Single families here, not more affordable than Venice, but as far as compared to like others, single families here in boating access would be a hell of a lot more affordable than a lot of other options in the state, especially for what Siesta offers. There's a lot of canals and stuff like that, a lot of deep water canals, a lot of ways to access that. It's only 6 miles from downtown Sarasota. Last one I'll mention is Longboat Key. Longboat Key would be the most, I said it a lot, but the most residential feeling. Because of the private way you access the beach if you don't live there, it's not as much of a destination spot because if you drive to the one beach access and the 4 cars are already there, you got to turn around. So people don't seek it out like that. So if you want to live where you might not also want a vacation, this would be the one. They also have Longboat Key Club, which gives you like golf near the beach. It gives you condos. It gives you some newer options. Plus it gives you like deeded access. You can live across the street in like Country Club Shores, go over there, an optional membership or whatever. So that's how I'd separate those 3 beaches. Anna Maria's kind of in between, but it's also very far north or whatever. So that one's like people are seeking like, yeah, very similar to Siesta, but that's how I'd view the islands. All right, and part 3 is gonna be 30 seconds, but I think it's very important. I mentioned geography. Where Sarasota stands out the most, if you had to pick one state, if you were transient, right? Sarasota's not perfect, Naples isn't perfect, Jackson, none of them are perfect. Boca Raton, it doesn't matter, but you had to pick one. Not a better one than Sarasota when it comes to geography, because everything that's happening in Florida that's cool is in Southwest Florida. It's not in the Panhandle, it's not Northeast, it's all here. So if you had to pick one, and I like the Gulf Coast waters better, but if you had to pick one, this is a sensitive topic, but it's true. The least, I think, technically hurricane damaged area when it comes to the main part of it versus all the rest, right? So you got that going for you, whether it's a wives' tale or not. But proximity, right? So a lovely area to sit, we just explained that. 45 minutes from St. Petersburg, you're 60 minutes one way to Tampa, including the airport, hour and a half to Fort Myers, 2 one way to Naples, you have Sanibel, Captiva, Marco Island. You are 3.5 to Miami. You could take a ferry from Fort Myers to the Keys. You're 3.5 to Boca Raton. You're 4.5 Jacksonville, St. Augustine. 5.5 to Savannah, Georgia. You got everything. right? So if you had to make one home base, I think geography is part 3 on its own. All right, my friends, we did it. We made it to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it. If this added you any value at all, please consider subscribing and liking. That really helps us out. Again, my name is Adam Hancock. If you are considering any sort of move, any real estate help at all, please consider reaching out to the group. Contact information is everywhere. And then lastly, any of the links below, the URL for the website you'll see on this screen, check that out. I have tons of free downloads, free guides, newsletter that's so different than anything you get here. So there's a lot of ways to engage, whether you're already speaking with someone on my team, or far before you're ready to speak with someone. There's a lot of ways that we can add you value that doesn't exist on YouTube. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.